Real strength shows up when you can feel everything deeply but choose not to react to every single thing. Think about how often your whole day gets thrown off by one message, one comment, one look, or one wrong tone of voice. You were fine, and then suddenly your mood is completely different. That is not only stress. That is your emotions taking the lead in your life. And if you never learn how to stop that pattern, it just keeps repeating. You say things you later regret. You do things that do not really help you. You hurt people you care about or you hurt yourself. Not because you are a bad person, but because no one ever taught you how to pause before you move. This is not about pretending you do not feel anything. It is about learning to guide what you feel instead of letting it guide you. It is about being able to stay in the middle of an emotional storm and still choose your next step with a clear mind. When you learn the power of not reacting, everything in your life begins to shift. You stay calmer. You make clearer decisions. You protect your energy instead of giving it away to every little thing that happens. That is what this is really about, stopping the habit of letting your emotions run the show and finally leading your own life with inner strength. You are going to experience moments that shake you. Moments when someone's words cut deep. Moments when someone's tone sounds disrespectful. Moments when a message you did not expect wakes something up inside you. In those exact situations, something in you wants to react immediately. You feel it physically, maybe in your chest, in your throat, in your hands. It builds up quickly, and the first thing your emotions demand is a reaction. But here is the truth, just because the urge is loud does not mean you have to obey it. You can feel the pressure rising inside and still decide not to act on it. That is where real power begins. That is the moment you start taking back control from your emotions instead of letting them control you. The world rarely teaches us how to pause. It teaches us to answer fast, defend ourselves quickly, speak up as soon as we feel challenged, prove that we are right, fire back when we are hurt. And that is why so many people stay stuck in the same emotional patterns for years. They spend their whole lives following every emotional impulse as if it were a command. They treat their emotions as if they were the final truth. But emotions are not facts. They are signals. And signals are meant to be noticed and understood, not blindly followed. Between the emotion you feel and the action you take, there is a small space. Most people skip over that space. Strong people decide to live inside it. The moment something upsets you, there is a split second where you feel the heat, you feel the tension, and your thoughts start racing. In that tiny space, you have a real choice. You can act out the feeling, or you can look directly at the urge, notice it, breathe, and refuse to give in. That is what self-control actually is. It is not about never feeling anything. It is about not being pushed around by everything you feel. You can train your mind to ask better questions in that moment. Not, how do I respond, but, do I even need to respond? Not, what should I say back, but, is this worth my energy at all? When someone says something rude or offensive, you do not have to answer. When someone criticizes you in a way that is unfair, you do not have to defend yourself. When someone tries to push your buttons, you do not have to let them win. And most importantly, when your own emotions scream for attention, you do not have to let them decide what you do next. You are not weak because you feel angry. You are not wrong because you feel hurt. Those are real human emotions. But you are stronger when you do not let those emotions drive your behavior. Reacting out of pure emotion hands your power to everything and everyone around you. Choosing not to react gives that power back to you. The good news is that this is a skill you can build like a muscle. It just takes practice and awareness. Start with the small situations. When someone cuts you off on the road, when a comment online feels disrespectful, when someone talks down to you, let yourself feel the emotion rise. Notice it fully. But do not automatically obey it. Stay with it for a moment. Let it be there without running away from it and without trying to fight it. Just observe it. Feel it. Then choose your next move on purpose instead of on autopilot. That is how real control starts to grow. Not through huge dramatic changes, but through small moments of self-awareness repeated over and over. You will still feel the urge to react. You will still feel that pull inside. But you are not your urges. You are not your reactions. You are the one who can watch what is happening inside and still choose something different. Many people destroy their own peace over things they could simply ignore. They argue with people they could have walked away from. They keep explaining themselves to people whose minds are already made up. They answer from fear, from pride, from anger, or from insecurity, and all it does is keep them stuck in a loop: emotion, reaction, regret, repeat. When you step out of that loop by facing the urge to react and deciding not to follow it, your life starts to feel completely different. You become someone who stays calm when pressure shows up. You become someone who walks away with dignity instead of staying in arguments that go nowhere. You become someone who values inner peace more than being right in every discussion. Real strength is not found in shouting the loudest. It is not found in exploding the fastest. Real strength is knowing exactly how you feel and still choosing not to lose yourself in that feeling. That kind of strength takes time to build. It takes patience with yourself. But it rewards you in every area of your life. Your relationships improve because you are no longer overreacting to small things. Your confidence grows because you are no longer emotionally controlled by other people's moods, words, or opinions. Your thoughts become clearer. Your actions become more intentional. You say less, but what you say matters more. You feel proud of how you handle difficult people. You stay calm in situations that used to shake you. You remain steady when everything around you feels noisy. People notice that. People naturally respect those who do not react to everything, because it shows maturity. It shows growth. It shows real leadership over yourself. You do not need to be perfect at it. You just need to practice it every single day. Maybe today you hold back from saying something hurtful during an argument. Maybe tomorrow you pause for 5 seconds before you reply. Maybe the next day you decide to walk away instead of staying in the same old drama. These small wins matter. Every time you choose not to react, you become stronger. It is easy to explode. It is easy to lash out. But staying calm is real discipline. And discipline is what builds the kind of life most people wish they had, a life where you are no longer controlled by what happens around you, because you have learned how to manage what is happening inside of you. Do not be the person who reacts to everything. Be the person who chooses. Be the person who decides. Be the person who keeps their power. That is what emotional maturity looks like. That is what real self-respect feels like. It is not about winning every argument. It is about keeping your peace. You do not have to prove anything to anyone. You do not have to respond to everything that offends you. You do not have to carry the weight of every emotional reaction. You are allowed to feel everything, and you are also allowed to rise above it. The urge to react will always appear, but so will your ability to pause, to reflect, to breathe, and to let some things pass. In that pause, in that space where you choose instead of react, your real power lives. If you want to change your life, start exactly there. Notice the urge to react. Look it in the eye and tell it, not this time. That is strength. That is growth. That is how you truly win. When someone has already decided you are wrong, no list of facts, no honest explanation, no careful truth will really change their mind. In those moments, the only thing you spend is your own time and energy. Letting people keep their opinion and choosing not to defend yourself is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. It is emotional maturity. It is choosing peace over ego. You are not betraying what is true. You are simply choosing to protect your inner space. In a world that constantly pushes you to react, to answer, to explain, protecting your energy becomes one of the most powerful choices you can make. Ask yourself with honesty, why do I need this person to see me correctly? Why do I need them to agree with my side of the story? Often, the urge to be understood comes more from wounded pride than from real necessity. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is let someone be wrong about you and move on. Not every misunderstanding must be cleaned up. Not every confused opinion needs to be fixed. There are people who are not interested in the truth. They are interested in protecting their image of themselves. And if that means turning you into the villain in their story, they will. No explanation will touch that, because their goal is not clarity, their goal is comfort. When you notice that, you can stop fighting a battle that was already lost from the beginning. If someone refuses to listen, if they twist your words, if they react from pride instead of openness, your explanations will only drain you further. Letting the conversation go is not giving up. It is choosing yourself. It is choosing your mental balance over the need to be right in someone else's mind. Your peace is more valuable than another person's approval. Your personal growth matters more than their judgment. Your time is worth more than arguments designed to pull you down or keep you stuck in old roles. Some people will never apologize. Some will never admit they were unfair. Some will rewrite history so they do not have to look at their own behavior. Let them. Let them hold on to the version of reality that helps them sleep at night. You do not have to correct every lie told about you. You do not have to run after every misunderstanding. What you have to do is keep walking in alignment with who you really are. Life has a way of revealing the truth without you needing to shout it. Over time, your consistency, your actions, and your character speak more loudly than any rumor, any gossip, or any distorted story. When you stop chasing everyone's approval, something shifts inside you. You begin to feel lighter. You no longer spend whole days rehearsing what you should have said, or what you will say next time. You stop replaying conversations in your head trying to find the perfect response. Instead, you start showing up for yourself. You give space to your voice when it truly matters, not every time someone demands it. Remind yourself often, not every fight is worth entering. Not every opinion needs an answer. Not every person deserves the effort it takes to convince them. The people who genuinely care about you, who respect you, who love the truth, will ask for clarification instead of assuming the worst. They will listen. They will give you the benefit of the doubt. They will allow you to be human, imperfect, and more complex than whatever story they created in their mind. Those who are not willing to do that do not need to be close to you. Let them keep their conclusions. Let them feel right. And give yourself permission to feel free. The urge to explain yourself will still show up. It will arrive quickly and loudly, especially when you feel misunderstood. In that exact moment, pause. Ask yourself, what is the price of this reaction? What am I about to sacrifice just to be understood by someone who does not want to understand me? Is that really worth it? Most of the time, the honest answer is no. People will talk whether you clarify things or not. People will judge whether you defend yourself or stay silent. People will create their own stories whether you present all the facts or walk away. You cannot control that. So stop making their opinion your responsibility. Your responsibility is to stay aligned with your values, to protect your peace, and to keep moving in the direction of the life you want to build. Real strength is not found in winning every argument. Real strength is found in having the self-control to walk away from an argument that only steals your time and your peace. Real strength is knowing you could say more, you could fight back, you could defend yourself, and still choosing not to, because you know your worth does not depend on that conversation. You are allowed to step back. You are allowed to let silence answer for you. And then there is another kind of discomfort you have to face, the inner tension you feel when something hurts, scares, or confuses you. Most people run from that feeling as soon as it appears. The moment the heart gets heavy, the stomach tightens, or the chest feels tight, they look for an escape. They grab their phone. They distract themselves with noise. They talk just to fill the silence. They reach for food, for entertainment, for anything that numbs what they do not want to feel. But every time you run from that tension, you also run from the chance to understand yourself better. The discomfort is not there to punish you. It is there to show you something, to guide you toward a part of yourself that needs care, healing, or clarity. When you constantly escape, you never give those parts a chance to be seen. You push them down, but they do not disappear. They wait. They come back stronger, in the next argument, the next fear, the next moment of stress. Leaning into that tension instead of escaping it is scary at first, but it is one of the bravest things you can do. Sitting with a feeling instead of numbing it is a form of emotional courage. You do not have to analyze it to death. You do not have to fix it in 5 minutes. You just have to stay with it. Notice where it lives in your body. Breathe into it slowly. Allow it to exist without trying to control it or push it away. When you give yourself permission to stay present with tension, something surprising happens. The feeling usually does not last as long as you feared. It begins to soften. The edges are not as sharp. Your breathing slows down. Your thoughts become clearer. Your nervous system calms. What makes pain feel unbearable is often not the pain itself, but our resistance to it, our belief that we should not be feeling this at all. You do not have to solve your whole life in the exact moment you feel overwhelmed. Sometimes your only job is to feel what you feel and let it move through you. That does not make you weak. It does not mean you are failing at life. It means you are human. Overwhelm is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are carrying a lot and that you need your own support more than you need your own judgment. When life feels heavy, the most powerful thing you can do is become your own safe place instead of your own worst critic. You do not need more harsh words in your head. You do not need another voice telling you you are not doing enough, not handling things well enough, not strong enough. What you need in those moments is inner support, not inner punishment. Think about how you would speak to a close friend who is overwhelmed. You would not rush them. You would not insult them. You would not tell them they are weak for feeling what they feel. You would probably tell them to breathe, to slow down, to take things one step at a time. You would remind them of everything they have already survived. You would speak with patience and kindness. That is exactly how you need to learn to speak to yourself. Self-control does not grow from self-hate. Real discipline comes from self-respect. When you respect yourself, you do not throw yourself into every argument. When you value your own peace, you do not let every opinion drag you into chaos. When you care about your mental and emotional health, you start choosing where to place your attention instead of letting everyone else decide that for you. One simple practice you can use when emotions start rising is to name what you are feeling in clear words. Instead of saying everything is a mess, you can say I feel angry, I feel hurt, I feel afraid, I feel disappointed. Putting a clear name on your emotion creates a little space between you and the feeling. You are not saying I am anger. You are saying I feel anger. That small change in language reminds your mind that the emotion is something moving through you, not something that defines who you are. Once you name the feeling, bring your attention to your breath. You do not need any special technique at first. Just breathe in slowly through your nose, hold for a moment, and breathe out a little more slowly than you breathed in. Do this a few times in a row. You are sending a signal to your body that it is safe to slow down. When the body calms, the mind becomes clearer, and the urge to react begins to lose its grip. In that calmer space, you can ask yourself simple, honest questions. Is this situation really as urgent as my emotions are telling me it is? Do I need to answer right now, or can I wait? Will my future self be proud of the reaction I am about to choose? These questions are not there to shame you. They are there to guide you back to yourself, back to the kind of person you actually want to be when things get difficult. You will not get it perfect. No one does. There will still be moments when you answer too quickly, when you say something sharp, when you react and later wish you had paused. When that happens, do not use it as proof that you are failing. Use it as information. Look back at the moment with gentle honesty. What did you feel right before you reacted? What thought ran through your mind? What could you try differently next time? This is how emotional maturity grows, not through perfection, but through awareness and adjustment. Another powerful way to protect your peace is to create small boundaries around your attention. Not every message needs an immediate reply. Not every notification deserves your nervous system. It is okay to step away from your phone, to close a conversation, to give yourself time before you respond. The world moves fast, but your mind does not have to move at the speed of every vibration and sound. When you start giving yourself permission to slow down, you will notice that many things fix themselves without your reaction. People calm down. Conversations cool off. Your own perspective becomes wider. Problems that felt huge in the moment look smaller when you are not standing right up against them. This is not avoidance. This is strategy. It is you choosing to respond from clarity instead of chaos. There will always be people who expect instant answers and emotional performances. They may not understand why you pause, why you stay quiet, why you no longer jump into every conflict. That is okay. You are not living for their approval. You are learning to build a life that feels stable on the inside, not just impressive on the outside. Stability often looks simple from the outside, but it feels like freedom on the inside. Remember that it is not your job to carry the emotional weight of everyone around you. You can care deeply about people and still say no. You can love someone and still step back when a conversation becomes harmful. You can be kind and still protect your boundaries. Saying no to what drains you is not cold or selfish. It is necessary if you want to stay healthy in the long term. As you practice all of this, you may notice a quiet confidence growing inside you. You begin to trust yourself more. You know that even when strong emotions appear, you have tools. You know that you can breathe, that you can wait, that you can choose. You no longer feel like a prisoner of your reactions. You feel like the person holding the keys. This is the deeper power behind not reacting to everything. It is not about being distant or numb. It is about being rooted. It is about standing firmly in who you are, even when the winds of emotion blow hard. It is about knowing that your value does not change just because someone else is upset, or because you are having a difficult day inside your own mind. You are allowed to start small. You are allowed to take this one situation at a time. Maybe today your only victory is taking 3 slow breaths before you answer a message that upsets you. Maybe tomorrow your victory is choosing not to respond at all to a comment that was designed just to get a reaction out of you. These moments might look tiny from the outside, but inside they are building a whole new way of living. Over time, you will look back and realize that you do not explode as often as you used to. You do not panic as quickly. You do not chase every argument. You do not feel pulled in every direction by other people's moods. You feel calmer, not because life became easy, but because you became steady. That steadiness is something you are creating choice by choice, pause by pause, breath by breath. You do not have to rush this process. You only have to keep showing up for yourself, especially on the days when you feel overwhelmed. Those are the days when the old patterns feel the strongest. Those are also the days when every small moment of self-control matters the most. In choosing not to react, you are choosing to respect your own heart, your own mind, and your own future. There will be days when you feel like you are going backward, when old reactions return and old habits show up again. You might catch yourself raising your voice, sending a message too quickly, or replaying a conversation in your mind for hours. In those moments, it is easy to think that all your progress is gone. But growth is not a straight line. Change is not a perfect curve that always moves upward. Real change includes repeats, relapses, and lessons you have to learn more than once. What matters is not that you never react again. What matters is that you start to notice your reactions sooner. Maybe before you would stay angry for days, and now you realize what is happening within a few hours. Maybe before you would hold on to resentment for weeks, and now you can release it in a day. That difference is progress. That difference is evidence that you are becoming more aware, more present, and more in control of what you do with what you feel. Every time you become aware of a reaction, you have already taken a step away from living on autopilot. Awareness is the doorway to choice. You cannot choose what you do not see. When you notice yourself reacting, you can gently pause, even if it is only for a moment, and ask yourself what you really want to do next. You do not have to punish yourself for the first reaction. You can focus on the second action, the one you choose with intention. Maybe your first impulse is to send a long, angry message. Your second action can be to delete it. Maybe your first impulse is to slam a door or shut down completely. Your second action can be to return later and communicate calmly. The first impulse is often automatic, built from years of patterns. The second action is where your power lives. That is where your new self starts to guide your life more than your old habits. Another important part of emotional control is learning to accept that you cannot manage everything outside of you. You cannot control how other people think, speak, or behave. You cannot control every situation, every outcome, or every challenge that appears. Trying to control everything outside of you only creates more anxiety and frustration. What you can control is how you respond, how you care for yourself, and what you choose to focus on. When something happens that you do not like, you can remind yourself of a simple truth. I do not control this situation, but I do control how I move through it. This belief shifts your attention from resistance to responsibility. Instead of asking why is this happening to me, you start asking how can I carry myself through this in a way that respects who I am. That small change in focus often unlocks a calmer energy inside you. You may start to see difficult moments as training for your inner strength. Every challenge becomes a chance to practice patience. Every misunderstanding becomes a chance to practice clarity. Every moment of tension becomes a chance to practice breathing, pausing, and choosing instead of reacting. You are no longer just going through life. You are using life to build the kind of inner character you admire. It can help to create small personal reminders that bring you back to this mindset. A short sentence you repeat to yourself when you feel triggered. A quiet phrase you think when you want to react. Something like I choose peace, I choose patience, or I choose to respond later. These are not magic words, but they help your mind switch tracks. They interrupt the automatic pattern long enough for you to take a different path. Over time, people around you will feel the difference. Some will appreciate the new calm you bring into conversations. They will feel safer around you because they know you do not explode over every small thing. Others may feel uncomfortable, especially if they were used to pulling you into drama, arguments, or emotional games. When you stop reacting, you stop feeding those patterns, and some relationships may change or even fall away. That can be painful, but it is also a form of protection. Losing connections that only survive on conflict makes space for connections built on respect, honesty, and mutual peace. You do not have to hold on to dynamics that exhaust you just because they are familiar. You are allowed to outgrow relationships that depend on your constant reaction. You are allowed to choose a quieter, more stable circle. As your reactions soften, your inner world becomes clearer. You start to hear your own thoughts beneath the noise of everyone else's expectations. You start to feel what you truly want, not just what you are supposed to want. You begin to notice how much of your old life was shaped by impulse, pressure, and survival, and how much more aligned your new life can be when you choose your responses with care. One day you will find yourself in a situation that would have once set you on fire, and you will notice something different. You feel the emotion rise, but you do not feel the same urge to explode. You take a breath. You answer calmly. Or you do not answer at all. And afterward, you realize how far you have come. That quiet moment of control will mean more than any big victory, because it proves to you that you are no longer the person you used to be. That is the silent reward of learning not to react to everything. You get to meet a new version of yourself, one who is steady, grounded, and present even in the middle of emotional storms. You get to live a life that feels less like constant damage control and more like intentional creation. You still feel deeply, but you are no longer lost inside every feeling. You are the one guiding yourself through them, step by step. You may also notice that the more you practice emotional control, the more your priorities begin to change. Things that once felt worth fighting over start to feel small. You stop needing to win every disagreement. You stop needing to correct every misunderstanding. Instead, you start asking yourself a different question. Does this truly matter in the long run, or am I just protecting my ego in this moment? That question alone can save you from countless unnecessary conflicts. So much of our suffering comes from trying to defend an image of ourselves in other people's minds. We want to be seen as right, as good, as strong, as smart. When that image feels threatened, our emotions flare up and demand a response. But the truth is, you cannot fully control how others see you. People will always filter you through their own fears, their own experiences, their own expectations. Chasing their approval is like chasing the wind. It never really ends. What you can control is how you show up. You can control whether you act with integrity, whether you stay honest, whether you treat others with respect even when they do not offer you the same. When you know you are living in alignment with your values, you do not need to prove yourself in every conversation. Your peace no longer depends on someone else's opinion. It grows from the quiet confidence of knowing who you are inside. This does not mean you stay silent when something truly matters. There will be times when you need to speak up, set a boundary, or stand up for yourself or someone else. Emotional control is not about accepting disrespect or injustice. It is about choosing how and when to respond so that your actions reflect your strength, not your woundedness. Sometimes the most powerful response is a clear, calm sentence spoken once. Sometimes the most powerful response is walking away. When you react from pure emotion, your message often gets lost. People stop hearing your words and only see your anger, your frustration, your tears. But when you respond from a grounded place, your words carry more weight. Your quiet confidence speaks louder than shouting ever could. People may not agree with you, but they will remember how steady you were while you spoke your truth. Another important part of this journey is learning to recognize the situations that always trigger you. Maybe it is a certain tone of voice. Maybe it is being ignored. Maybe it is feeling like you are not being taken seriously. These triggers are not random. They are often connected to old experiences, old wounds, old stories you carry about yourself. When you notice the patterns, you can stop being surprised by them and start preparing for them. For example, if you know that feeling dismissed always makes you want to explode, you can decide in advance how you want to handle that feeling next time. You might choose to take a few breaths before you answer. You might choose to say calmly, "I do not feel heard right now, and I would like to finish what I was saying." You might choose to end the conversation and return to it later. Planning your response ahead of time gives you a sense of power before the emotion even arrives. The more you understand your own triggers, the less control they have over you. They stop being invisible buttons that anyone can press to get a reaction out of you. Instead, they become signals that help you learn more about yourself. Each time a trigger appears, you can ask, what is this really touching inside me? What belief about myself does this moment activate? Do I still want to carry that belief, or is it time to let it go and write a new story? Healing does not always happen in big, dramatic moments. Often it happens quietly, in the moment you choose a new response to an old feeling. Maybe in the past you would have yelled, but this time you breathe and speak gently. Maybe in the past you would have begged for attention, but this time you step back and give yourself the care you were asking for from others. These small shifts slowly rewrite the way you relate to your own emotions. Over time, you start to experience difficult emotions differently. Anger becomes a message that something feels unfair or out of alignment, not a command to attack. Fear becomes a signal that you are stepping into something new and uncertain, not a demand to run away. Sadness becomes an invitation to slow down and process what you have lost, not an order to collapse and give up. The feelings are the same, but your relationship with them changes. You stop seeing your emotions as enemies and start seeing them as information. You do not have to obey them, but you also do not have to hate them. You can listen, learn, and still choose your behavior. This is the balance that brings true inner freedom. You are not numb. You are not detached from life. You are fully present, fully feeling, but no longer controlled by every emotional wave that rises inside you. This is the kind of inner strength that cannot be faked. It is felt in the way you pause before reacting, in the way you choose your words, in the way you decide which battles are worth your energy. It is visible in the way you remain calm when others are trying to pull you into chaos. It is heard in the way you speak softly but firmly when you set a boundary. It is experienced by everyone around you as a quiet, steady presence. You will not always see your own progress clearly. But others will. Someone will notice that you do not argue the way you used to. Someone will notice that you listen more, that you breathe more, that you walk away more often from situations that once consumed you. Someone might even tell you that you feel different to be around, more peaceful, more grounded. And one day, you will notice it too. You might think that staying calm means you are doing nothing, but that is not true. Choosing not to react is also an action. It is a decision. It is you using your power in a different way. Instead of spending your energy on shouting, defending, or over-explaining, you spend it on staying centered, thinking clearly, and protecting your peace. From the outside it may look like silence, but on the inside a lot is happening. You are slowing down thoughts that want to race. You are calming a body that wants to tense up. You are softening words that want to come out sharp. All of that takes effort. It is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is inner work, and it is one of the most important kinds of work you can do if you want a steady life instead of a chaotic one. There is a big difference between avoiding your emotions and allowing them without reacting to them. Avoidance means pretending you do not feel what you feel, pushing it down, acting like it is not there. Allowing means you admit to yourself exactly what is moving inside you, but you choose not to let it control what you say or do next. You can say to yourself, "I feel angry right now," and still choose to sit quietly. You can say, "I feel hurt," and still choose not to send that desperate message. You can say, "I feel scared," and still choose to move slowly forward. This is how you build trust with yourself. When you see that you can feel big waves of emotion and still stay grounded, you begin to feel safer inside your own mind. You no longer fear your feelings as much, because you know they will not automatically take over your behavior. You stop thinking, "If I get angry, I will lose control," or "If I get hurt, I will break." Instead you start to believe, "Whatever I feel, I will stay with myself and choose my next step carefully." There will always be people who try to use your emotions against you. They may push your buttons on purpose. They may bring up old stories, mention sensitive topics, or use a certain tone to get a reaction. When you know this, you can decide in advance that your peace is not for sale. You can remind yourself that every time you react exactly the way they expect, you are giving them power they do not deserve. Staying calm does not mean you let them walk all over you. It means you decide when and how to respond so that your answer is effective instead of explosive. Sometimes that response will be clear and firm. Sometimes it will be short and simple. Sometimes it will be no response at all. The point is that you are the one choosing, not your anger, not your pride, and not someone else's manipulation. You can also practice emotional control in everyday situations that seem small. When you are stuck in traffic and everything in you wants to complain, you can take a breath and accept that you cannot make the cars move faster. When a plan changes at the last minute, you can notice the irritation without letting it ruin the whole day. When technology fails, when a line is long, when something breaks, these are all tiny chances to train your ability to stay steady inside frustration. At first, you may still feel the same level of irritation, but over time you begin to feel a small gap between the feeling and the action. You notice that you can sigh and let it go instead of starting a long story in your head about how nothing ever works. That gap is your training ground. It is where you practice choosing peace in moments that do not seem dramatic but quietly shape your overall state of mind. If you pay attention, you will see that your days are full of these moments. Someone speaks over you in a meeting. A friend replies later than you hoped. A family member uses a familiar tone that triggers you. You forget something important. Each of these moments invites a reaction, but each one also offers you a chance to pause. You do not need to be perfect. Even choosing calm one time out of 3 is already progress. Another useful practice is to check in with your body during the day. Emotional reactions often show up as physical signals long before you say or do anything. Your shoulders tighten. Your jaw locks. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your stomach feels heavy. When you notice these signs, you can treat them as early warnings. Instead of waiting until you explode, you can slow down right there. You might roll your shoulders back, unclench your jaw, or take 3 deeper breaths. You might step away for a moment, drink some water, or simply close your eyes and feel your feet on the ground. These small physical actions send a message to your nervous system that you are safe enough to relax. A calmer body makes it easier to have a calmer mind, and a calmer mind makes it easier to choose a calmer response. Emotional control also grows when you give yourself regular time to rest and reset. When you are exhausted, overwhelmed, or stretched too thin, every small problem feels bigger. Your reactions become faster because you have less inner space. Prioritizing sleep, quiet time, and simple moments of stillness is not a luxury. It is part of your emotional practice. A tired mind is more reactive. A rested mind has more room to pause. You do not have to wait for a crisis to take care of yourself. You can choose small habits that support your stability each day. Maybe it is a short walk without your phone. Maybe it is writing your thoughts for 5 minutes. Maybe it is sitting in silence for a few moments when you wake up. These little rituals remind your system that not everything is urgent, and that you are allowed to slow down. In the end, learning not to react to everything is really about learning to live from the inside out instead of from the outside in. When you live from the outside in, every noise, every opinion, every message pulls you in a different direction. When you live from the inside out, your responses come from your values, your clarity, and your chosen pace. The world will still be loud, but you will move through it more quietly, more steadily, and with far more peace. As you practice this way of living, you will start to see how powerful quiet decisions can be. Most turning points in life do not happen in big public moments. They happen in private, in the space between what you feel and what you choose to do next. They happen when you decide not to send that message, not to raise your voice, not to repeat an old pattern just because it feels familiar. You may still feel the same intensity inside, but your outer response begins to change. And over time, your inner world follows. The more often you choose calm actions, the more your mind learns that calm is possible, even when emotions run high. The more often you choose patience, the more your nervous system learns that not everything is an emergency. You are teaching every part of yourself that safety can come from within, not only from what happens outside. It is normal to feel uncomfortable in this process. If you have spent years reacting fast, staying silent can feel strange. If you are used to defending yourself immediately, pausing can feel risky, almost like you are doing something wrong. This is because your old habits have been wired into you by repetition. They feel natural, even when they harm your peace. New habits almost always feel awkward at first. Think of it like strengthening a new muscle. The first time you pick up the weight, your body shakes. You are not sure you can hold it. You might want to put it down right away. But if you stay with it, if you repeat the movement regularly, what once felt heavy begins to feel normal. Emotional control works the same way. The first few pauses feel shaky. The first few moments of silence feel strange. But each time you choose them, you become a little stronger. One day, you will notice that you did not have to try so hard. You paused automatically. You breathed without thinking about it. You let a comment go without starting a whole conversation in your mind. That is what training does. It turns effort into ability. What used to be a huge challenge becomes your new normal. It is also important to remember that not reacting does not mean you never express how you feel. Your emotions still need healthy ways out. The difference is that you choose when and where to release them. Instead of pouring your feelings into a heated argument, you might choose to write them in a journal first. Instead of shouting, you might choose to talk later, when your body feels calmer. Instead of sending a message in the heat of the moment, you might save it as a draft and reread it the next day. You can create safe spaces for your emotions, places where they can exist fully without causing extra damage. That might be a trusted friend who really listens, a therapist, a blank page, or a quiet walk where you let yourself cry, breathe, or think. The goal is not to keep everything inside. The goal is to express what you feel without betraying your own values or your own peace. As you become more intentional with your emotional energy, you may realize how much of it you used to spend on things that did not deserve it. Old arguments that led nowhere. Long explanations given to people who never truly listened. Late nights replaying conversations with people who had already moved on. You begin to see that your attention is precious. Where you place it shapes the quality of your life. You may decide to focus more on relationships that feel mutual, that bring you strength instead of constant confusion. You may spend more time on activities that nourish you, like learning, creating, moving your body, resting, or building something meaningful. You begin to invest your emotional energy like it is something valuable, because it is. There will still be people who misunderstand your new calm. They may say you have changed, that you are colder, that you do not care like you used to. But often, what they really mean is that you are no longer giving them the same emotional reactions they were used to receiving. You are no longer available for the same cycles of conflict. You are no longer willing to sacrifice your peace to keep familiar patterns alive. You do not have to defend this change. You can simply continue living it. The people who truly value you will adjust. They will come to respect your boundaries, your pauses, your choice to step away when a conversation turns harmful. The ones who cannot accept it may fall away, and as painful as that can be, it also opens room for more balanced connections to enter your life. In time, you will start to feel grateful for the moments that once triggered you the most. They will become proof of how far you have come. Where you once felt only anger, you may now feel understanding. Where you once felt only fear, you may now feel a strange kind of courage. Where you once felt completely powerless, you may now sense a quiet strength rising from within. This is the deeper gift of learning not to react to everything. It does not only change how you handle conflict. It changes how you see yourself. You begin to realize that you are not at the mercy of every feeling, every opinion, every situation. You have choices. You have tools. You have the ability to meet even intense emotions with clarity and care. When you forget this, when you slip back into old habits, you can always return to the basics. Name what you feel. Breathe slowly. Ask yourself simple questions. Give yourself space before you act. These are small steps, but they build a strong foundation. No matter how many times you fall back into reaction, you can return to these steps again. That willingness to return to yourself is what keeps you growing. You do not need anyone else to give you permission to live this way. You can decide, right where you are, that your peace is a priority. You can decide that your energy will no longer be given away so easily. You can decide that your life will not be ruled by every sudden emotion, but guided by a deeper sense of who you want to be. And each day, in the quiet space between feeling and reacting, you will have another chance to practice. You will have another chance to choose. You will have another chance to remember that your real power does not come from controlling everything around you, but from how you carry yourself through whatever comes. There is something deeply freeing about realizing that you do not have to attend every emotional battle you are invited to. Every time someone throws a sharp comment, every time a situation feels unfair, every time your feelings get stirred, there is an open door to conflict. For a long time, you may have walked through that door without thinking. Now, you are learning that you can stand at the doorway, look inside, and simply decide not to enter. This does not mean you are ignoring reality. It means you are choosing which parts of reality deserve your full attention. Not every situation requires your full emotional weight. Not every interaction needs you to empty your heart and your energy. When you understand this, you start to move differently. You pause. You evaluate. You ask yourself quietly, what happens if I let this pass? What happens if I do not reply? What happens if I protect my calm instead of proving my point? Many times, you will discover that nothing terrible happens when you choose not to react. The world does not end. The relationship does not shatter. The moment passes, and you are still here, more peaceful than you would have been if you had jumped into the conflict. Your silence, your pause, your decision to stay centered turn out to be far more powerful than any rushed reaction you could have given. Some people might interpret your calm as indifference, especially if they are used to seeing you react strongly. They may push harder to get a rise out of you. They may accuse you of not caring. But you know the truth. You are not calm because you do not care. You are calm because you care about your peace, your health, and your future more than you care about temporary drama. That is a different kind of care, a deeper one. It is also important to remember that emotional control includes how you speak to yourself after a difficult moment. Even when you manage to stay calm on the outside, you might still feel shaken inside. Old self-criticism can show up quickly. You might think, I should not feel this way, or I should be stronger by now. But judging yourself for having feelings is just another form of inner conflict. It keeps you stuck in the same cycle you are trying to leave. Instead, you can say to yourself, this was hard, and I stayed present. I felt a lot, and I still chose my response. I am learning, and learning takes time. Speaking to yourself with kindness does not erase your responsibility. It strengthens your ability to keep growing. When you feel supported inside, you have more courage to keep practicing emotional control in the real world. As you continue this journey, you might find it helpful to look back at moments in your life when reacting quickly made things worse. Not to shame yourself, but to understand the pattern. Maybe there was a friendship that broke because of words spoken in anger. Maybe there was an opportunity you lost because you responded impulsively. Maybe there were relationships that became heavy because you could not let things go. When you remember these moments from a place of compassion, they can become your teachers. They remind you why this work matters. They show you the real cost of living without a pause between feeling and reacting. At the same time, they highlight how powerful your new choices can be. Even one different response in a similar situation can change the ending of the story. You might also notice that as your emotional reactions soften, your intuition becomes clearer. When you are not constantly pulled into noise, you can hear the quieter signals inside yourself. You start to sense when a situation is not healthy for you, even if it looks fine from the outside. You start to feel when it is time to step back, even if you cannot explain it perfectly in words. Calm makes space for inner wisdom to speak. Emotional control is not only about stopping yourself from exploding. It is also about hearing yourself more clearly so that your choices move you closer to the life you actually want. When you are not busy fixing the consequences of constant reactions, you have more energy to build new habits, new projects, and new paths. You are not always cleaning up emotional messes. You are free to create. In this quieter space, you can ask bigger questions. What kind of person do I want to be when life gets hard? How do I want others to feel when they interact with me? What values do I want my reactions to reflect? These questions pull you forward. They give you a vision of your future self, the one who stays steady, speaks clearly, and chooses carefully even when emotions run high. Each time you feel the urge to react, you can remember that version of yourself. You can ask, what would that future version of me do right now? Would they shout, or would they pause? Would they send this message, or delete it? Would they stay in this conversation, or step away? By acting in alignment with that vision, you are not pretending. You are practicing. You are becoming that person, one choice at a time. Of course, there will still be days when everything feels too much. Days when you are tired, sensitive, and easily triggered. On those days, the most emotionally mature thing you can do might be to lower your expectations of yourself, to move slowly, and to avoid unnecessary conflict entirely. Sometimes the best reaction is to remove yourself from situations that your current state cannot handle with grace. There is wisdom in knowing your limits. Emotional control is not about forcing yourself to be calm when your body and mind are exhausted. It is about recognizing when you are not in a good place to respond and giving yourself permission to step back. That, too, is a powerful choice. It protects you and the people around you from reactions that come from pure overload. With time, these practices become a way of life. You begin to measure your days not by how much you achieved on the outside, but by how you carried yourself on the inside. Did you stay kind to yourself? Did you pause when you needed to? Did you choose peace when conflict called your name? Did you protect your energy where you once would have given it away? These quiet questions are not meant to judge you. They are meant to guide you. No matter how your day went, you can end it by gently checking in, noticing where you reacted, and appreciating where you grew. Then you rest, and you try again tomorrow, a little more aware, a little more steady, and a little more in control of how you respond to the world around you. When you start living this way, you may notice something else changing too. The stories you tell yourself about who you are begin to shift. Maybe you used to think, I am just a reactive person, or I have always had a bad temper, or I am too sensitive. Those stories might have felt true because they matched your past behavior. But your behavior is not your identity. It is a pattern, and patterns can change. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you are writing a new story about yourself. You are becoming someone who can feel deeply and still choose wisely. You are becoming someone who can experience strong emotion without letting it explode onto everyone around you. You are becoming someone who can be trusted, not because you never feel anything, but because you handle what you feel with care. This change will not always be visible in big dramatic scenes. Often it will show up in small, quiet ways. You answer a message more gently than before. You listen all the way through before interrupting. You decide not to restart an old argument. You let a minor mistake go without turning it into a full attack on yourself. These moments are easy to overlook, but they are the building blocks of a calmer life. It can be helpful to notice and name these small wins at the end of the day. Instead of only remembering where you reacted, also remember where you chose differently. You might think to yourself, today I wanted to snap back, but I breathed instead. Today I felt criticized, but I waited before answering. Today I was overwhelmed, but I spoke to myself with a little more kindness. These simple acknowledgments help your mind see that you are changing, step by step. Over time, you will likely feel a new kind of stability inside. Life will still bring stress, conflict, and unexpected events. People will still disappoint you, misunderstand you, and challenge you. But you will not be thrown off balance as easily. What once would have ruined your whole day may now only disturb a few minutes. What once would have kept you awake all night may now pass through you more gently. This does not mean you stop caring. In fact, you may find that you care more clearly. Without constant emotional noise, you can see which situations truly deserve your attention and which do not. You might feel more present in the conversations that matter, more honest when you speak, more open when you listen. Your energy is no longer scattered across 100 conflicts. It is gathered, focused, and available for what really counts. As your emotional world becomes steadier, your decisions in other areas of life start to improve as well. It is easier to think about your future when you are not constantly cleaning up the past. It is easier to plan, to create, and to grow when your mind is not always exhausted from emotional battles. You may find it easier to set long-term goals, to stick to healthy habits, and to make choices that support the person you want to become. You might also notice that people who are drawn to you begin to change. When you are calm, you naturally attract those who value calm. When you are no longer available for constant drama, some people will lose interest. Others, who were always looking for a peaceful and stable presence, will feel more connected to you. Your emotional environment, both inside and outside, becomes more aligned with the life you are quietly building. None of this means you will never react again. You are human, and being human includes moments of impatience, anger, sadness, and fear. Emotional control is not a destination you arrive at once and for all. It is a way of traveling through your life. Some days you will travel more lightly, some days more heavily, but the direction remains the same. You are moving toward more awareness, more choice, and more peace. On the days when you stumble, when you say the thing you did not mean, when you react in a way you thought you had outgrown, you can remind yourself of the bigger picture. One difficult moment does not erase months of growth. One argument does not cancel all your progress. You can apologize where needed, make repairs where possible, and keep going. The important thing is that you do not return to the old story that says you cannot change. You are changing. Every pause proves it. Every deep breath proves it. Every time you remember to ask yourself, is this worth my energy, proves it. You are slowly building a new kind of strength, one that does not depend on controlling others, winning every conflict, or never feeling pain. It is a strength that comes from knowing you can trust yourself with your own emotions. As you move forward, keep this truth close. You are allowed to feel everything you feel. You are allowed to be sad, angry, confused, or scared. None of those emotions make you weak. What defines your strength is not what you feel, but what you choose to do with those feelings. In that choice, moment after moment, your real power lives. As you keep walking this path, remember that emotional control is not about becoming a different person. It is about becoming more fully yourself, without being pulled in every direction by sudden waves of feeling. You are not trying to erase your sensitivity or your passion. You are learning how to carry them with wisdom, so they build your life instead of breaking your peace. There will always be people, situations, and moments that touch something deep inside you. There will always be surprises, disappointments, and changes you did not plan. You cannot live a life where nothing ever stirs your emotions. But you can live a life where your emotions are companions, not captains. You can listen to them, learn from them, and still choose the road you want to walk. One of the most powerful choices you can make is to treat every emotional trigger as an invitation, not just an attack. When something hurts, instead of only asking, "Why are they like this?" you can also ask, "What is this showing me about myself?" When you feel ignored, instead of only asking, "Why do they not see me?" you can ask, "Where am I still waiting for others to give me the attention I do not give myself?" This is not about blaming yourself. It is about using every moment as a mirror, a chance to see yourself more clearly. The more you do this, the more you realize that your deepest work is not to control everyone around you, but to understand and support the person you are within. You start to see that many of your strongest reactions were born from old wounds, old fears, and old beliefs about not being enough, not being safe, or not being loved. By bringing gentle awareness to these places, you slowly begin to heal them. Healing does not mean you never feel pain again. It means that pain no longer has the same power to control your behavior or define your identity. You can feel rejected without calling yourself unworthy. You can feel scared without deciding that you are weak. You can feel angry without turning that anger into destruction. This is what it means to be emotionally strong, not hard, but steady, soft and firm at the same time. As you strengthen this inner steadiness, your relationship with time also changes. You stop needing everything to be solved immediately. You stop needing every conflict to be closed in one conversation. You understand that some things take time to settle, that some answers appear slowly, and that some people may never understand you in the way you wish they would. And instead of fighting that truth, you make peace with it. You begin to trust that not reacting right away does not mean you are losing control. It often means you are gaining it. By giving situations room to breathe, by allowing yourself space to think, you often receive insights that you would have missed in the heat of the moment. You might realize that the issue was smaller than it felt. You might see a kinder way to respond. You might notice that no response is needed at all. In this space, your self-respect grows. You no longer hand your mood over to every message, every comment, every expression on someone's face. You decide for yourself what kind of day you will have, what kind of energy you will bring, and what kind of person you will be, regardless of how others behave. This does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop allowing your inner world to be controlled by forces you cannot change. You may still feel the pull to react quickly, especially in moments that touch your oldest fears. That pull might never disappear completely. But each time you feel it and still choose to pause, you are rewriting your story. You are proving to yourself that you are no longer driven only by survival and impulse. You are moving from reaction to creation, from chaos to intention. Over months and years, these small decisions add up. They shape the kind of life you wake up to each morning. A life where you can face conflict without drowning in it. A life where you can sit with discomfort without running from it. A life where you can feel every emotion fully, but act from the part of you that is calm, conscious, and clear. If you ever doubt that this is possible for you, remember this. You are already doing some of this work. You have already survived moments that felt impossible. You have already held back words that would have caused more harm. You have already chosen peace at least once when anger was calling your name. Those moments are proof that the strength you are trying to build is already alive inside you. Your job now is to keep growing that strength, gently and consistently. To notice your reactions without judging yourself. To celebrate each small pause. To forgive yourself when you slip. To keep returning, again and again, to the simple practices that calm your body, clear your mind, and open that small but powerful space between feeling and action. In that space, you will always find a choice. In that choice, you will always find your power. And in using that power with care, patience, and self-respect, you will slowly build a life that does not depend on perfect circumstances to feel peaceful. Your peace will come from within, from the way you meet each moment, each emotion, and each challenge on your path. You are not here to be ruled by every storm that passes through your heart. You are here to learn how to stand, how to bend, and how to move with the wind without losing yourself. The work you are doing now, quietly learning not to react to everything, is not small. It is the foundation of a calmer mind, a stronger spirit, and a more meaningful life.